النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My partner left, Muhammad. Now we carry on with the karamat, and the karamat is to prove to us as فوت من ورا الكرسي. The prophets came and showed majizat, miracles, to prove that Allah Azza wa Jal is the founder of the universe and we're going back to Him. And one of the ways He used it to show He creates from nothing. And this universe and magnificent coordination and the design and the functionality. And here in this chapter, he's saying that the karama is a mini miracle. And he said last week, we read, it's the miracles of the Prophet like a barrel of honey. And all these karamas is a drop of that honey. So the prophets have endless miracles. What Allah Azza wa Jal gave to some of the Muslims who are really devoted to Allah Azza wa Jal, purify their heart and their behavior, to prove that this guy is a friend of Allah. Last week we took the meaning of being an ally of Allah Azza wa Jal, or devotee to Allah Azza wa Jal, wali min awliya Allah. So that will prove about صدقه لأداء حقوقه سبحانه. He is truthful in fulfilling the demands of Allah Azza wa Jal. And he should be one of the signs of a wali, that he should be really kind to all the creatures, no matter what they are and who they are. And he will be merciful to all the creatures. Now, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was so merciful even to Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Abi Salul, who was the top of the hypocrite, and he insulted his own wife Aisha. And before he was totally banned, he went to his grave and he received him and he gave him his shirt. So his son asked him, can we have, my father wants your shirt. He gave him his shirt. He was, trying to the last second to get perhaps Allah to forgive Abdullah ibn Abi Salul, even if after he died. And Umar ibn Khattab stood between him and the body, the deceased. He didn't want the Prophet ﷺ pray on Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Abi Salul, but this is the rahmah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the mercifulness. So, and that should show through the wali ibn awliya Allah. You should be merciful with your enemies as well. Now, when Lion, Richard the Lionheart, when he was in the Crusader war and he was injured, he was treated by Salah ad-Din Ayyubi in his own tent. And he was so kind to him that affected them. When they finished and they recovered Jerusalem, the commentator, I was looking at the commentary, and he said there were not a single person injured, not an animal injured, not even a building destroyed. So they didn't take revenge back from the Crusaders who lived there 90 years. So that's a mercifulness of the wali of awliya Allah. And he should be taking responsibility. He will be like, caring, and he was taking from them with tolerance. He's so tolerant to them. ابتداء طلب الإحسان من الله عز وجل. He will be the first to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help people. Like when Prophet ﷺ coming down from Taif, prayed to Allah Azza wa Jal, Allahumma ahdi qawmi, not destroy them, فإنهم لا يعلمون, guide them because they don't know what they're missing. Now he's saying, when I was listening to Restream, he was saying, many Muslims don't follow that. May Allah destroy them, may Allah kill their children, make their wife widows, make their children orphans. Why don't you say, may Allah guide them, may Allah show them the right path, may Allah be, merciful with them, let them follow the guidance of Allah. Like now you go to the scholars who give the khutbah in most of the Muslim world, in the masajid, they used to curse the wali, the ra'is. May Allah destroy so and so. Well, the new ones now, they say, Allah guide them to the right path in Islam. There's nothing wrong with that. Somebody came to one of the Umayyad Khalifa came to an Imam in Damascus, and he said to him, you must curse Ali ibn Abi Talib on a minbar. That's order. Muawiyah were against Ali, the followers of Muawiyah were against the followers of Ali. So he said, okay, but I will say this. He said, I will say on the member, so-and-so Khalifa asked me to curse Ali. La'anahullah. He asked me to make la'an to Ali, la'anahullah. So he said, no, don't say it. Because la'anahullah, the dhamir in Arabic, will not be clear whether he's asking Allah to make curse to Ali or to that Khalifa. So he said, the Khalifa said to him, no, forget it, don't say it. So this is one of the signs of the Khalifa, of the Wali ibn Awliyaullah. And he lived taking revenge. And he has high motivation, that hope that all people will be saved from hellfire. And he should not use the curse of others to control them or get their money or punish them. And he should not be greedy. There's any chance he go and try to grab it himself. And he should be controlling his tongue. And التصاون عن شهود مساوئهم. He should avoid chasing their mistakes. Oh, he's done this. Oh, you've seen that, he's done this. And he shouldn't be an enemy to any of them in this life or next life. And he said here that one of the best karama to the awliya is to do a lot of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal and avoid doing any ma'asi. And then he quoted from the Quran some of the non-prophets who showed karamat. Allah showed through them. And he mentioned Maryam, how Maryam alayhi salam was getting food of the summer in the winter, food of the winter in the summer. Just it's the food appearing there. And he mentioned the story of the people of the cave, and how Maryam also, when she gave the baby, how the water started running and the date starts, she just shake a big tree, you can't even touch it. If you touch it, it's just like a wall. But the dates were dropping. And then the story of the people of the cave, how they lived 300 years, 309 years. And how Allah made Al-Khudr perform a lot of miracles in front of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, which he wasn't a prophet, but he was able to perform things which was really extraordinary. And then he mentioned the story of Jurayj al-Rahib. And Jurayj al-Rahib, when he was tried to, his mother came 3 times calling him, and he was praying, and he wondered whether he should leave his prayer, answer his mom or not. His mom was angry, and she made the dua to Allah that he shouldn't die until he see the faces of the prostitutes. And then one prostitute said to the sons of Israel at that time that I can seduce him and get him to commit adultery. And then it happened, this lady carried a baby and brought the baby, and she said to them, this is the baby of Jurayj. Yeah, accusing him. There were no DNA testing and things. So he said, bring that boy. They brought the boy to him, and he poked him in his stomach, and he said, who's your father? And he said, Rai, so-and-so, the shepherd. So they said, oh, we will build you a monastery out of gold. And he said, no, just build my monastery. And he mentioned the 3 children here who spoke in the cradle. Isa ibn Maryam was one of them, and the child of Jurayj, and another child, some say the child of the one who witnessed with Yusuf, and there's another child who witnessed, who was with the wife of Pharaoh, and another child who was the child of Ashab al-Ukhdud, and there were another child also who was breastfeeding, and a guy came, a horse rider, who was really strong, and his mother said, oh Allah, make him like this horse rider. He said, oh Allah, don't make me like him. And then another lady passed who was cursed by other people and calling her names and things, and the mother said, oh Allah, don't make my son like this lady. And he left her breast and he said, no Allah, make me like her, because she was innocent. So all these are called miracles. They're not prophets. They're not performing miracles, but they're karama. So it's karama to them from Allah Azza wa Jal. And then he mentioned the story of the three who went out on a trip, and they were locked in a cave, and the cave was closed by a big rock which can't move, and they forgot their mobiles at home, I think, and didn't have internet covering. And there's no way to tell anybody they are there, they will die definitely. So they said, we'll ask Allah Azza wa Jal with the best of our deeds to get us out. And how Allah Azza wa Jal get them out? By the first one who was waiting his mom and dad to wake up to drink the milk before his own family. The second one who invested the money of an angry employer who went and came back a few years later to ask for the day wage, and he said, no, all these are yours. So he gave it to him. And the third one who was asked for financial help by his cousin. He wasn't able to marry her, and he wanted to sleep with her, and then he gave her the money, and then she asked him to fear Allah Azza wa Jal, and he feared Allah Azza wa Jal. So every time one mentioned the story, the rock moved a bit. So it seems somebody listening to them, and yes, your deed is good, and your deed is good, your deed is good, and then the three of them. So these are karama to these people who were really good. And then he talked about the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when a cow was misused by her owner, and she turned to her owner and she said, I'm not created to work like this, to turn the earth, do the farm work. I'm created by Allah to give milk and meat and things. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Subhanallah, and the people say, Subhanallah, faqala Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I believe in this, and Abu Bakr and Umar, which means Abu Bakr and Umar in the same wave like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were not there. But this is a karama. Allah made this guy, the owner of this cow, listen by himself, an animal talking to him. And another story, when Ibn Umar was traveling and he found people who were strangled, and they couldn't move because there were a big lion there and they couldn't pass that lion. And he went and spoke to the lion and asked him to leave, and he left. So the people carried on with their journey. He said that's a karama. And he mentioned Abu al-Ala al-Hadrami when he was in a mission, a war, and they were wide part of Dajla river between him and the enemy. So he made dua to Allah Azza wa Jal with his mighty names, and Allah Azza wa Jal made him walk on the water with their horses and all the army. So the enemy, when they saw them walking on the water, ran away. Obviously, all these are contrary to the physical law Allah created. So Allah changed the physical law for that guy to walk on the water, the other guy to move the rock, the other guy to the cow speak. So this is a miracle to show that Allah can change what He created. Although it is like when Musa hit the sea and the sea split into two mighty mountains of water. So they walked on the water. And Atab ibn Bashir and Usayd ibn Khudayr, they went out with the Prophet ﷺ, and they went out from the house of the Prophet ﷺ. So Allah made their stick have a light at the end. Not Duracell, no, something else. So, and it lightened their way. When Udhar al-Ghifari became Muslim, he said to the Prophet ﷺ to ask Allah to give him a sign that he is really, truly believer in Islam, and he met the Prophet. So Allah made the lights between his, on his forehead, middle of forehead. And he said to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, that might make people think I have an illness. So he made it at the end of his stick. So he was, showing them the light. Salman and Abu Darda, they were eating, and the dish were talking, making tasbih. And they were hearing tasbih from the dish. And the Prophet ﷺ said that it could be somebody who's ash'ath, aghbar, dhayt mrain, like, you know, somebody who's really untidy, is traveling, is weak, and people, if they see him, they don't make any value to him. But if he asks Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah will fulfill his request. Sahil ibn Abdullah al-Tasatturi, one of the top scholars in Sufi, he said, whoever من زهد في الدنيا, he left dunya, what's zahida, austerity? Whoever zahida in English? Aestheticism. And zahida, the verb, aestheticize. Whoever left dunya for 40 days, truly out of his heart, he will start seeing karamat. This will be performed by him. And if you find that it's not happening to you, probably need to check your truthfulness and your sidq with Allah Azza wa Jal. Yeah. And my teacher used to say, there's a hadith, من أخلص لله 40 صباحا أجرى الله ينابيع الحكمة من قلبه على لسانه. If you are truthful with Allah Azza wa Jal for 40 mornings, Allah will make wisdom flow from your heart into your tongue. Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu mentioned that a man رجل ذكر كلمة سمع آدم في السحاب. He heard in the thunder and the cloud, and he heard after that an order that go and water so and so farm. So he followed the cloud until the cloud rained. When it rained, he went and found somebody praying in his farm. And he said to him, what's your name? He said, this is my name. And he said, that's the name I heard in the heaven, in the cloud, that go and water the farm of so-and-so. And what do you do with your farm? Because there's an order to go and water your farm. He said, when I collect my crops, I divide it into 3 parts. I leave 1 part to refertilize the land and to repair the land and things, and one third for me and my family, and 1/3 to the poor. I give it to the poor. I said, that's why. So Allah is looking after your own farm in particular. There were a story mentioned by Sheikh Sha'rawi. He was talking about the ayah فَيُصِيبُ بِهِ مِنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَصْرِفُهُ عَمَّنْ يَشَاءُ, that the cloud will water somebody's farm and avoid somebody else's farm. So there's a guy who went to see his daughters. He had 2 daughters living in 2 separate villages. And he went to the first one. She said, make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, because we planted our crops and we're desperate for rain to water our land. So make dua for us. And the next village, and his daughter said that we made all the bricks now and we really want dry weather and sun heat to dry our bricks. So he went back home and he said to his wife, what shall I do? If I ask for rain, that will destroy the bricks. If I don't ask for rain, ask for sunshine and warm and heat, then the plants will die. So she said, haven't you read the ayah that قلبوا في السماء كيف يشاء? So what's the ayah? يصيب به من يشاء ويصرفه عن من يشاء. Allah will make the cloud hit, water somebody's land and avoid somebody else's land. So he asked Allah to do that for his daughters. And they said Sahil ibn Abdullah al-Tasatturi used to have a house, and the house used to call it the house of wild animals. So the wild animals, the big cats. And they asked, what's this house? And they said that during the night, all these wild animals come and he feed them, give them meat and give them food, and they come. This is their hotel at night and late night supper. Feed them. So he said, this guy, he said, دخلت على this guy called Abdullah ibn Ali al-Sufi. He said, I heard Hamza ibn Abdullah al-Alawi saying, I went to visit Abil Khair al-Tinati. And he said, I had in my mind that I will not eat anything, just say hello, how are you, whatever, and go out. So he went, and I don't want to eat there anything. So he went, and they visited him, and then he went out. and he found that this Ali ibn Abi Khair Tinati, he was following him with the food. He said, your pledge that you will not eat anything in my house has gone now. Now you're out of my house, you can eat. So like this guy was reading his mind, what he was thinking. And here a guy went to visit Ibrahim al-Ruqi. قصدته مسلما عليه وحكي عن إبراهيم الرقي. And he said, I was with him and he prayed Maghrib and he didn't feel that he read the Fatiha as he would, it wasn't long. And so he had that in mind. And he said, I was going, my trip to visit him was wasted because I thought that I would enjoy praying behind him and hearing the Quran. So when I came out of his house, a lion followed me and he went to eat him. So Ibrahim al-Ruqi, he went out of the house and he called the lion. He said, haven't I told you, don't even, come near my guests? So the lion went and left the guest and went. So how wrong he was in assessing the status of this guy. Now we have 3 minutes to go. And here I'm saying about Nasr al-Sarraj, he lost his ring, the precious stone of his ring. And he asked Allah Azza wa Jalla, he said, Ya jami' al-nasi liyawmin la rayba fihi ijma' alayya dallati. The one who gathered the people in a day, there's no doubt that day will take place, day of judgment. Let me meet my lost stone. And he went home, he found the stone in one of his books. Opened the book, he found the stone there. And here Ahmad Tabarani Sarkhas, he said, I went to do my business and couldn't find any stone to clean myself. So I just made like this from the air and precious stone he used to clean himself. So he's saying here, these karamat increase his belief in Allah Azza wa Jal. And he's not, as we read last week, it's not to prove to people. There's no, you can't challenge with karamat. You cannot say to people, this is, I can't perform this. If I perform it, you believe. You can't do that. Although some of them actually did something similar, like we mentioned last week about Abdul Qadir Jailani. When he asked one of his students, he said 3 things: eat less, sleep less, talk less. So to get to the level of Sufi, you really need to eat less, sleep less, and talk less. So I wasn't eating enough, and he was losing weight, and his mom became worried about him. So she went to Abdul Qadir Jilani to ask him what was that. And when she entered the house, and Abdul Qadir Jilani was eating a roast duck. I said, you're telling the guy not to eat, not to sleep. Like, you're enjoying the duck and enjoying yourself, and my son losing weight and you become skeleton. He said, when your son become like, and bi'Iznillah go, and the dog became alive and flew away, he could eat whatever he wants. When he reached this state, and he said to the dog, go bi'Iznillah, with the will of Allah, order from Allah. So this guy, Abu Hassan al-Basri, he said, there were a black guy nearby. He used to live in, demolished houses and things, and eat whatever there. And he took some food with him, decent meal with fruit and things. And when he saw him, he smiled, and he said to him, look on the ground. And he looked at all gold, all the ground gold. So I'm not actually desperate for a meal. You bring me a meal. You can take this gold, sell it, and buy. And then he gave him the food. He ran away. He said he was terrified, because if he can perform this. And this Ahmad ibn Ata al-Ruzbadi, he said, I had problem with the tahara. You need to tell Abad about this today. And he kept pouring water, trying to clean himself, and he wasn't satisfied that I'm really clean. And then he heard somebody saying, Al-afu fil ilm. if you have enough knowledge, you wouldn't need to pour all this water. So sometimes they were listening, voices used to tell them or teach them something or pass a message to them. And then here Mansour Maghribi, he said he saw somebody, or he saw the same man. No, he saw فرأيته يوما. Yeah, he saw the man sitting in the country, like in the outside, the countryside, and there were signs that there were animal dropping, sheep dropping, and they had no bray marks. And he said to him, "Oh, Sheikh, there's a sign that there were animal dropping there." He said to him, اختلف الفقهاء. Some fuqaha said dropping, that's not najasa, and some said it is. So he had knowledge, so he was able to answer. It's like I was surprised to read that Malik ibn Anas, he doesn't take the dogs as being haram to eat.
Oh no, haram to eat, but like not just to keep at home.
But haram to eat, that's I heard it from
Malik says they are still haram to eat, but they are not najas. So you can keep them. You touch them, you don't have to wash.
Because I heard it from Hamza Yusuf, not read it. Hamza Yusuf was talking about the Korean who eat dogs, and you want to invite them to Islam and things. Oh, dog haram. He said you can use Mazhab Malik ibn Anas, so it's not eating, is it?
It's not eating, but keeping.
Yeah.
You can keep them.
So I mean, it's a guy, but Salman Khawas, he said, I was riding a donkey, and the donkey was really annoyed by all these flies, and he kept turning his head. And he said to him, فَكُنْتُ أَضْرُبُ رَأْسَهُ. He was hitting his head to stop turning right and left. And the donkey turned his head, and he said, if the flies on your head like my head, you will be turning your head. So the donkey told them off. There's quite a lot actually of these, but I think you had the flavor, you had the meaning why. Next, inshallah, is going to be on ru'ya, the vision. Let's say ru'ya with the ta and the ru'ya with the alif, and he mentioned quite a few other things, inshallah. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Muhammad wa ala alihi.